Welcome to another episode of the Salon Scoop. Today we have a digital debrief where we're going to get the scoop on the most important elements that your salon website needs to have. As always, I've got my cohort, Sarah Perrin, with us here today. Sarah, not only salon owner and manages, the website of her own salon. We're going to get into some nitty-gritty stuff that really shows you what you have to have going on in your salon website today. Sarah, give us a little what's up to everybody out there.
What's up, everybody?
Ready to talk websites?
I am ready to talk websites.
What do you find, just quickly off the top, how often would you say that you update the website, with your own salon company?
It's something definitely that has been an oversight in the past, but I feel like as we've kind of come into, 2023 and everything, it's not really an option to leave it as an oversight. So that's actually my resolution this year, is to make sure that I'm checking up on it quarterly, always making sure that, our services are updated, everything like that. So I'm actually just in the process of doing a little bit of a website update. So this is going to be a good refresh for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you just said, I think it's important to probably, schedule a reminder in your calendar, whether you do it, quarterly. Sometimes it's also going to be monthly if you're updating, the promotions that you have on your site. If you do feature those, and that's obviously going to be a monthly thing, but, quarterly, definitely to look at things like, your overall services, pricing, staffing, imagery, has anything changed, any important information, maybe some new certifications, that should be added. So, but putting that regularly in your calendar is a great place to start to make sure that you don't sort of forget. And all of a sudden, 8 months, 9 months have gone by and you have not been, updating your website. Definitely important. And something that I see all the time, I go on to salon websites and I see, old promotions where it says, expired, summer of 2022 or whatever. I see it over and over again. And I'm like, okay, obviously nobody's paying attention to this. So anyhow, in today's episode, we're going to walk through some of the main elements, and I'll just sort of kick it off. The first is just some of the basic. Let's get those out of the way, right? And your salon website likely already has, most of these elements, but we're just going to go through, and you need to just take a check, a checkup, like the same way you go to, your dentist for a checkup, or, with your doctor. You need to do a checkup every now and then to make sure that your contact information, right, is fully up to date. If there's been any changes, to phone, maybe you have additional phone, maybe you have additional email that you've updated. Sometimes you change locations. Normally you should be updating that pretty quickly. But even social media, right? Maybe you all of a sudden now you have a TikTok account, but you haven't included that on your website. So you want to make sure that all of your social media accounts are properly, updated and linked properly. Your salon hours of operation, right? This is another one that would count as basics. And those hours do tend to change and fluctuate during the year. So you want to make sure that those are constantly being updated as well. The other element that I would put in here, super important, is just your call to actions, right? So think about what you want the consumer to actually do, right, when they go onto your website. And is it book an appointment? Do you have online booking? Then obviously you want to make sure that there are clear, links or buttons in many different places on the website that says, book now, book an appointment, make a reservation, whatever verbiage you want to use, but that you have those very clearly there so that it's calling out to somebody to easily click and take an action. At the end of the day, when you have people come to your website, you want them to take an action. It might be going to your online store if you have an online store. So similarly, make sure that you have, lots of buttons, maybe some highlights, some banners about special promotions that they can click and go to your store. So make it easy for them to actually take an action to, take the next step with you. I'd say those are the main things when it comes to some of the key basics to get started.
Yeah, and those are all super important. I feel like the most simple things are always the most overlooked. So I feel like it's always good just to touch base with those things and make sure that you're looking at it from a consumer point of view, like how easy is it to click around and find what you need to from your page. And sometimes it's even good to have just like a non-biased or a friend or something like that kind of go through and have them try and, book an appointment and then report back to you like how easy it was to figure that all out, because it's very easy just to overlook that.
Of that. And we often look at it from our perspective, right? As either a salon owner or a salon manager. And sometimes we think, oh yeah, this is obvious. But for a consumer, right, who's not into the lingo necessarily of the industry, you want to make sure that that experience, that they understand, what they're reading, and they can find the things that they're actually looking for. So that's a great point, Sarah.
Totally. So the other thing that I wanted to touch on was just like quality images and copy. I feel like this is often another thing that is overlooked, and maybe subpar photos or just like cell phone photos are uploaded or whatever it might be. It's just really important that you're using quality images that are either stock or personal photos. You just want to make sure that they're not blurry and pixelated and everything like that, because that's very unappealing as a consumer to be scrolling through, and it definitely affects the quality of the look of your website, right? So I think that is just super important to make sure that your images in particular are quality. And just a quick little tip, for the most part, if you're wanting like the clearest, most detailed image, you'll want to upload it as a PNG file. So that's like a quick little easy thing that, is usually the best quality out of the photos that you're using. So as much as the images are important, that they are quality, it's also important that your copy is also quality. So you just want to make sure that you're taking a little bit of extra time and writing out like an articulate text that you're putting on, and that is clear and concise and to the point, and professionally written as well. So again, just going through all of your images and all of your web copy just to make sure that everything is easy to digest and easily understandable and well written is super important.
Totally. There's too many times where I'm, going through a website, a salon website, and you see, typo and spelling mistakes, and that just has a glaring reflection on, the professionalism of your company, right? So the website is your chance to make that first impression, often with a brand new potential client. So, having great imagery and having great text is going to make that first impression, so much stronger than obviously, the opposite, and some of those things that you talked about, blurry photos, bad resolution, sort of sloppy text. You really got to pay attention to that. And some of that, the text especially, comes into the third point here, which is all about your search engine optimization. You've probably heard SEO. That's all about Google rankings and helping make sure that your website shows up higher when people are doing Google searches for things like, hair salon, Cleveland, or, wedding hair, Oakville, whatever the case may be. So if you are not super comfortable with, SEO and Google rankings and what that is all about, we've actually done another podcast episode specifically talking about and breaking that down. We have several different blog articles on our website that you can go and check out. We have a lot of expertise around this. We also have a specific service to help salons get ranked higher. But some of the key things really do start with those keywords and identifying what the proper keywords are. Like I said, keywords is what people would use as a search term in that Google search bar, right? So hair salon in whatever city it is, hairstylist in this city, or whatever service they might be looking for, a particular service, hair extensions in Saskatoon. Sarah, check that one out. And so you now want to make sure that those keywords, you're including them inside the text of your website. That's actually going to help send a message to Google, right? That when people do a search, that your website is potentially a good match that Google might want to recommend because you have those keywords listed. There's a lot of other areas inside of your website that are actually kind of behind the scenes of your website, and things like the title tags and meta descriptions. And I'm not going to get into that here in today's episode, but we definitely encourage you, if you want to learn a little bit more, we've broken down in a simple way SEO in some of our past, like I said, podcast episode and blog articles, but you definitely want to put some energy into that to help make sure that your website gets ranked higher in Google.
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend just like super easy. This is what I do for myself is I just have that list of the SEO keywords that I want to make sure that I'm including. And then whenever I'm doing any of the web copy or web, just like where can I sneak these, keywords and phrases in as much as possible just to make it easier for myself. So it's a complicated thing, but you can make it easy for yourself for sure.
Absolutely.
So something else that I feel like is really important to have on your salon website is a meet the team section, which again seems super, super basic, but once you get going on, it's crazy. I'll be, looking on a salon's website or something like that. And I'm like, well, I know that employee hasn't worked there in 4 years. Like, so it's like, you want to make sure that that is always kept up to date and everything like that. So there's a few things that should be included in your meet the team. Like you definitely want like somewhat of a recent headshot photo. Doesn't necessarily have to be a professional photo, even if it's just one that you've taken at the salon with your cell phone or whatever. I just feel like it's important to have a recent headshot so that potential guests, like they know what they're getting into, they know who to expect, they know, everything like that. We do work in the beauty industry, so appearance is very important. So this is just kind of your first step to make a good first impression for each of the stylists. So yeah, you definitely want a recent headshot photo. And then you want to include things like their training, their qualifications, awards and achievements, if applicable as well. Like you want to have all of their accolades there and really, yeah, beef up those profiles, make them looking good and everything like that, including all of their specialties, everything like that. And on top of that, like services that they specialize in, even if they're well-rounded hairstylists and everything like that, it's really good to have, those keywords and phrases, like maybe they specialize in extensions, or maybe they specialize in blonding services, whatever it might be, just to like make them a little bit more specific. So when somebody is looking, they're like, well, I'm looking specifically for a blonde specialist and this looks like my girl, right? So, and then you also obviously want to include whatever social media handles that they have. So whether that be their Instagram or their TikTok, whatever it might be, just as a way to be able to send, guests to check out their library of work and everything like that. So, again, very basic, and we're not reinventing the wheel or anything like that here, but it's just good to keep like really current, up to date, meet the team bios and everything like that. And on that note too, it's also important to realize that your website is not just available for potential consumers. You also want to remember that potential stylists could be looking at your website and looking to, apply to work with you. So it's also important, like with your meet the team and everything like that, like perhaps you have a hiring page that kind of has, a little bit of almost like a brochure of everything that your company has to offer. So yeah, that's also a really important thing to just keep in mind, that it is not just potential clients visiting your website, it is also potential team members and staff mates.
Yeah, great point. Almost every salon that I talk to these days, is saying that they're, still have staff shortages and they're looking for staff, yet they don't all have that clearly indicated on their website. So yeah, it's just a basic thing that sometimes we sort of forget about because we haven't taken the time to sort of check up on our website. So, and one other quick tip I want to mention on those photos, you mentioned the staff photos. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be professional, like Sarah mentioned, but you do want to make sure there's some consistency to those photos. Again, you want the look to kind of be professional. So what does that mean? Just mean like the sizing. You don't want somebody that just has a headshot and then somebody else, they have a full body shot, right? You wouldn't want that. You don't want somebody whose picture's in color and somebody else who's in black and white. You don't want somebody whose background is, their garden and there are trees in the background, and somebody else, their background is inside the salon. Make sure you have some consistency to the actual photos, and that's going to give you a more professional look, even if you're not using, a professional photographer for the actual photos. So that's just a quick tip on the photos. All right, so featuring the team is certainly extremely important. Now you want to make sure that you're also featuring what you offer, right? Your services, because that's another very important thing, that potential clients are coming to your website because they want to see, what services do you have and what price points, what budget, range am I in? So really, I would say, first and foremost, what your salon offers is the services. You can break it down by categories and then have a, relatively detailed list. You don't have to have your full detailed list of, every different type of foils and partial foils and different lengths of hair. You can kind of have more top line information, because ultimately people just want to get a sense of, okay, do you have the service that I'm, looking for, and what's the price range? Am I comfortable with it? Right? Those two things is what's really important to get me to say, okay, I'm interested in clicking, right, to either, book, or maybe calling to take that next step of maybe asking a little bit more detail. So that's kind of, it's almost like a bit of a teaser approach. The other thing in terms of what your salon offers could be promotions, right? You might have some regular promotions going on. They might be permanent, right? You might have a new client promotion. You might have a referral promotion that are sort of ongoing. Maybe you have a student discount or a seniors discount. Those things you can feature permanently, but then you might also have your monthly or seasonal promotions that is nice to kind of keep updated and refreshed on your website so that people know what's there. And it's an incentive for them to be like, oh, that sounds interesting, and to get them to click and take that next action, right? Very, very important always to be thinking about those actions of what we want people to do. So, and if there's anything else that you sort of offer that are kind of unique, you want to highlight, some of the special things incorporated with your experience that they might get. Maybe they always get a little hot towel, treatment, or, a special sort of scalp massage as part of the regular service. Those things are nice to mention, hot beverages, whatever the case may be. Those are nice things to mention. You might have a little about text, right? That just kind of tells your story, tells your why as a company. That's always a great way to be able to connect a little bit on an emotional level with potential clients and make them feel comfortable with, what the vibe is, what they can expect in terms of the overall experience in your salon company. Great way to start. So, that's, I'd say, something, critical that you want to make sure that you're also incorporated to tell people about your company.
Yeah, for sure.
Last thing, Sarah, anything about that we should tell our wonderful listeners out there that they can do on their website?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the last thing, and this one is super easy to do, but just throwing in like guest testimonials. So you should have, like your Google reviews and everything like that, maybe Facebook reviews, whatever it might be. And obviously those are there for people to be able to search up and find you. But a nice thing about having them on your website is you can kind of pick and choose those like really, really flattering and well-written ones and everything like that. So yeah, it's just a great idea to have that as a resource, because I know myself as a consumer, like I'm constantly digging through reviews and everything like that. So that could be the difference as to whether I visit somewhere or not. So if a business has like just these glowing reviews left, right, and center, I'm probably going to be more likely to pull the trigger and actually book an appointment. So it's just a good extra easy thing that you can have up there to have your website visitors check out.
Absolutely. Reviews are always important, but rather than, I see some websites, again, salon websites, where they just have a link to their Google review section. But the beauty of the website is you control it 100%. So put the stuff that you want to feature, right? So pick your very, very best, reviews that put your best foot forward, because that's your first impression. So anyways, lots of great information here in this episode. I hope that this has inspired you to go right now and go and check your website, because maybe it's been a little bit of time. So, listen to these points, go and do a review of your website, make sure that everything is up to date, make sure that you have these critical sort of factors included. And at the same time, if ever you need, a review, you want maybe a sort of an outsider's perspective, that's one of the key things that we do at Salon S.O.S. We have a ton of salon companies across North America where we not only create, but we manage their websites. We update the websites regularly for them to keep them up to date. So if that's something that you feel like you might need as a service, kind of a helping hand, because either you don't have the time for it, or maybe the company or person that built your website is no longer sort of available, feel free to reach out to us. It's an absolute pleasure, for us to help. And we've set up a system to be able to do it in a very simple and affordable manner, more than anything, for salon companies. So be inspired, go check out your website, contact us if need be. And we look forward to hearing all about and share with us your wonderful website updates. We'd love to sort of see some of them, and we'd be happy to kind of feature them on our social media, some of the great salon websites that are out there today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Have a great day, everyone.